Hey, Mark, my
Good morning,
friend.
Dan.
How are you doing?
Not too bad, Dan. How's it going with you?
Yeah, it's going well, man. It's Friday. We survived X Day, the great user
Yeah,
conference we had, and then yeah, no, it's been good.
absolutely.
How have you been?
It's been crazy. I know. I luckily took a few days off before X Day, so last week I ran
Yeah,
away when
I'm still a
everyone
little
was
mad at
doing
you
the heavy
about that,
lifting.
but I'm a little jealous, not mad. So
No, but I think it was great. I think we all pulled through. It was a great user conference. I know we're going to be talking a lot more about it today, but I think it was a lot of fun and the platform, even though it had like a little bit of a learning curve, I think it was an absolute game changer. So a lot of fun. Enjoyed it.
yeah, no, I think so too. I thought it was awesome. It was a lot of fun, even
Yeah,
just talking with a lot of the guests and doing these interviews. It was really
right.
informative, I think, for our clients. So that's what I was excited about. I think is that kind of thing. So it was awesome. But and
Yeah. How does it feel to be on camera so much this week, though? I mean, I know you spend most of Tuesday on camera, and then
yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like, the diva in me is coming out, I think. I'm like, "I need, like, this, I need that," "Come on, we gotta do it." So, no, it was fun. I don't mind it so much. We've done how many
yeah.
episodes of Live with Dan, so
Yeah,
it's
50, I
interesting.
think, or 40, 47, 48. I don't know.
Yeah, so quite a bit, so no, it's all good.
Mm.
I get tired of talking sometimes, but, that's alright. So,
But our listeners love that, so
I know, I know.
it's a good trade-off.
Yeah. So today on the show, we want to recap some of the talks and some of the presentations that we had. So I'll be doing that, and then let me just turn this off real quick. Um, I'll be playing some clips from that, and then we can talk about those. I think first, what we wanted to talk about is the only really announcement we have on the show is I'll be presenting at TMRE with
Yeah.
Prob from Energizer. He's a consumer insights manager there. So we'll be talking about online communities and how to drive innovation. So keep an eye out for more of that, more info on that. That'll be, I think it's in a couple weeks. So if you're going to
November
TMRE,
15th, right?
yeah, if you're going to TMRE in Nashville, let me know. Love to meet up, connect for a drink, coffee, whatever it is, or even just to talk. Let me know if you're going to be there and be happy to meet up. I'll be there. I know Tim will be there. And yeah, it'll be fun. And then also, if you want to be a guest on Live with Dan, I'm always looking for interesting people to talk to. So
Yep.
hit me up if you want to be on Live with Dan, message me on LinkedIn. More than happy to have you and schedule you on the show. No, so I think those are the big announcements today. Again, what we
Yep.
wanted to talk about is some of the clips and show you really some interesting nuggets of information that we found at XDay. I believe if you still want to view all of the clips, you can still register. And I think those clips will be in an event for 30 days, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So
Right. And we're also
this,
getting them all up on YouTube. I mean, actually, we're actually in
okay.
the process of just getting all of this done, so it'll be on YouTube too.
Perfect. So it'll be on YouTube as well. So this is kind of to tease it to get you excited, to watch the whole thing. I'm only going to cover the ones that I liked, I think, or not the ones that I was a part of. I can't say I didn't like any of
You were
them,
part
but
of, yeah.
the ones I was a part
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
because that's what I know. I know there were some other great presentations that I dropped in on as well from some of the CX and workforce team, and then some of the others. But feel free to watch them. I mean, they're all interesting, but I'll give you some nuggets of information from the ones that I know that I took part in these ones, and that's how I kind of gauged what I wanted to show, and they're more research focused, which this show tends to be as well. So what I'll do here is I'll kind of tee up this first clip is a panel discussion that I had with Marissa Saison from Verizon and Stephanie Luang from Riot Games. And we were talking about MaxDiff and conjoint. And in this clip, it starts out with me asking a question around what do you look for in the MaxDiff results? What do you like? What are some different tips and tricks there? So this is one of the interesting things there. So let me just fire this up and get this going. And while that is happening, Mark and I will drop off of the screen here and we'll come back once the
Perfect. Yep.
clip is going. All right. In terms of, so if we're talking about a conjoint study specifically, what key points or results are you kind of looking for, or what are those things you're honing in on to really help tell the story to either the stakeholders that are requesting the project or internal teams? I guess, Stephanie, why don't you take this one, and then Marissa, you can kind of piggyback off her answer.
Yeah, definitely. I think when doing conjoints, I actually really like to play around with the simulator. Just so I can best take into account all the other factors that I wouldn't necessarily put into a conjoint. So for example, if I'm doing like a feature type of study where I'm trying to optimize features, there's a lot of stuff in there that I would not actually put consumer facing, but is actually really core to our decision-making process. Things like cost to build, what technical overhead we might have, the time it might take for us to build, how difficult that might be for our internal processes. And so really what I like to do is I play around with the simulator. I try to figure out what gives me the best value. So that's why I really like looking at each of the attribute utilities and the importances for each of the attributes so that I can better understand the trade-offs if I were to pick one profile versus another, with all these other things in mind that don't necessarily make it into the study. In addition, I think it's just really helpful. I always try to run interactions to see if there's any interactions there so that I can also better understand if combinations of different variables will give me more or less preference from like an outsized perspective, right? An outsized amount of either negative or positive preference. So that's generally what I like to point out and kind of present it like that to stakeholders too, just to be like, hey, these are the specific trade-offs you'd be making, and this is how it might impact you. It really brings the conversation less abstract and more into like what you can actually do about it.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Real quick, you brought up an interesting point, I think, in that it's not only the results that you collected, but you're also taking into account the different business and what you know in terms of, if I recommend this is going to take a long time and it's not going to go well. So you do have to really take into account those internal factors that you know about and pair it with the data that's collected. So I just thought that was a really interesting point. And then Marissa, how about you? What in terms of conjoint, what key points or results are you looking for?
I think first it's important to understand the differences between doing a max-diff versus a conjoint. A max-diff only takes a look at single features, and people make trade-offs among single features, and you just simply get a rank ordering of preference or importance of a list of features. And then when you look at conjoint, the features are seen in totality in terms of like a concept board where people see those combinations, and then what ends up happening is you end up also with a set of features that are ranked, ordered, and then the sum of the values or the utilities or the consumer desire for those features, you can add them up, and that will get you the sort of like the best concept. So for me, for both, what I'm looking for is both are methodologies to force consumers to make trade-offs, number one. And then two, if my business problem is simply to look at, and you can go to any telecommunications website. Let's just take Verizon, for example. You can take a look at all of the mobile plans. You have a payment type plan, prepaid versus postpaid. And then you can take a look at data you have each month. You have fixed at, let's say, 1 gigabyte of data, or no, let's say 100 megabytes of data versus not fixed. So when you're looking at just broad categories, a max diff is what I would use. But when it comes to greater detail, like we're looking at levels. So speed, for example, would be a download of 50, 75 versus 100. So speed becomes one variable. And then you have price. $10, $20, $30 a month, and then payment plan, pre versus postpaid. Then you begin looking at combinations of variables, and that becomes much more complex. If my stakeholders need to understand within a variable like payment plan, is it important for them to understand whether there's a preference for prepaid or postpaid? In MaxDiff, it simply becomes a feature called payment plan parentheses prepaid versus postpaid.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have another feature called data speed. And then you don't put any levels on those. So if those are, the levels are not important, then, you know, I default to something like a MaxDiff.
Right. No, I think that makes sense. So if you, I think the levels, that's interesting. I think a lot of these things, unless you know what you're doing, you can probably make this. Okay, so that clip was Marissa and Stephanie talking about what they like and analysis and different things they look for. One thing that Stephanie said that I really liked was she likes the market simulation segmenter, so you can really break down different market shares within our tool, and you can look at that pretty easily. So that was something that I thought that was great that she brought up, because it is unique to our tool in that you can, maybe not unique, but it's a capability that we have that you can do. Plus, I really liked hearing what they had to say of when they use MaxDiff, when they use conjoint, and to trade those off. Now, it wasn't in this clip, but later on in the discussion, we talked about, do you ever, what sort of interesting things do you do? Do you use both of these? And oftentimes, Stephanie mentioned that she'll use MaxDiff and conjoint in the same study, depending on different use cases and so forth. So that, if you want to know more about MaxDiff, conjoint, and real business scenarios of when to use them, or even just to get some additional feedback, definitely check out that session. I forget the exact title, but you can find it. It's I think it's something around MaxDiff conjoint maximizing for insights professionals, something like that. You'll find it if you register for XDay, or if you want to look at this later, it'll be on YouTube as well. But definitely check that out. Super interesting conversation with a lot of experience in the space. So Marissa, PhD, Stephanie does amazing work with different advanced question types and so forth. So she knows a lot about it.
The session is called Choice Modeling and More for Experienced Transformation Leaders.
There you go.
Just in case anyone's wondering and is looking for it.
Thanks, Mark. That's perfect. Awesome. So that was one clip I wanted to show you. This next clip is from our keynote speaker, Lila Jones. And she had an interesting presentation around how essentially data isn't enough. You also need to tell the story. So she'll get into this, and she'll go over a few slides, and I'll play this clip. But it's interesting. I like it when she said that facts tell, stories sell. So it was interesting. And she'll get into this of how we remember stories, not facts. Like, you don't tell bedtime facts to your kids, you tell bedtime stories, which I thought was interesting. So I tried it last night with my girls, and they didn't really like the facts. They liked, the stories. So no, I'm just joking, but it was interesting. So I'll play this clip for y'all, and then I thought it was interesting. So her whole talk was very good. And again, if you want to know more about this, Mark can probably look up the title, and so I don't butcher it again, but it was interesting. She's head of sales at Google and a lot of experience in the tech space, but she tells really good stories. So let me share this. And this is about a quarter of the way into the presentation, but this is a pretty good clip that I wanted to show you guys. So let me share here, and we'll get this started. Mark and I will drop off, but we will be back.
Of culture and being an organization that's decisions based on data or data driven, having a data driven culture is something that everybody strives to be, but it's very, very challenging. And when we peel the onion on that to see why is that? Why is it so hard? It should be so obvious. A lot of times, and especially in the line of businesses that I've been in the technology industry for a long time. A lot of people like to say, well, it's the tools, right? We don't have the right tools. We need a new tool, or it should be in there. Where's the easy button? Or there should be a workflow that solves this for us. There's other people who are like, oh, no, it's all the processes. If we could just design a workflow that enables people to sign off on I'm going to stop. How many of us have ever had a situation where somebody redesigned like our sales solution, or they redesigned your expense solution, and all of a sudden you can't get anything done because there's an approval at every single step, and you're just like, I get that we're trying to put controls in place. I get that there's governance, but this is not user-friendly. I'll pause. Many of us have experienced that. That's when we try to overlay process on something and over-process it. And it's like, hashtag over-engineered, not really working, not user-friendly. And as you can see on this slide, typically that data-driven culture is 63% the people. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to CEOs who've said, my number one challenge in getting my agenda off the ground, even CEOs have to get their agenda off the ground, is people. Either I don't have the talent in order to build what I need in order to run faster, or I've got the talent and I can't keep them focused on that, or there's all these different things, but typically it's got to do with people buying into a vision. People buying into a vision. So how do we start to chip away at that? It certainly doesn't come overnight. And it's not certainly not going to come from just having one great project proposal that's based on data. This is a longer discussion and a different talk, but that whole idea of becoming a data-driven culture is something that I'd like you to ask yourself. Is the organization that I work in data-driven? Hopefully they are. If they aren't, and you're a data analyst or you're somebody who's trying to get something done, that might also be a flag for something new in 2022. I don't know. But those are things that we also want to consider, because again, if you don't have the people who are aligned with a strategy of leading with data, it's going to be pretty tough to get your ideas across the line. The other reason why sometimes we struggle, besides people and not being a data-driven culture, everybody's like, I'm hungry. It's lunchtime in Central Standard Time. How does she know this? The other thing that we struggle with is we fact people to death. Oh my goodness, I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations. And just so you know, I'm guilty. I've done this too. You show up, you've got your data points, you've got your point of view, you've got everything you need, and you share all the facts. But facts tell, stories sell, or persuade, or enable people, or inspire people to make a change. How do we know this to be true? Well, you see this, I don't know if this is a Big Mac or what, but it's kind of making me hungry too. And I don't even eat meat. And that's so, maybe it's an Impossible Burger. It's probably an Impossible Burger. We see this hamburger here, right? Now, think about all the commercials that you've seen for hamburgers. They very rarely tell you how many calories are in it. What do they say? And I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but there's a jingle that will never go outside of my head that I remember from when I was younger. And it was, I'm going to sing it for you. Big Mac, filet of fish, quarter pounder French fry, icy Coke, thick shake sundaes, and apple pies. Some of you are old enough to remember that jingle, but you know which chain I'm talking about. Think of all the things that they do to get you to come to their restaurants. And it works. We'll drive through in a heartbeat and eat it like nothing. Nobody ever says, come and eat this 740 calorie burger. No one ever says that. Oh, by the way, when you add fries and a big giant Pepsi, it's probably about 1,200 calories in one meal. Nobody ever says that, because if they did, you'd be like, oh, no, I couldn't possibly, right? So facts tell, stories sell. I'll give you another example. When you were little, what did your parents do at bedtime? Did they come back to your bed or come to your bed and say, let me tell you all the facts of this story, or let me tell you all the facts of my day? No, they read you bedtime stories, not bedtime facts. So we are, as a culture, designed to enjoy stories. What are movies? Stories. What is that Netflix binge, latest binge?
All right, so you saw there, that's kind of what we were talking about, is, the stories that really sell. And even internal, organizations where they need to get initiatives off the ground and so forth, the people, and how do you convince people through stories? So obviously the data helps, and you need the data to back up the story, but being able to tell a story with the data, I think is really powerful.
Absolutely. And she was a very powerful speaker too. I mean, you don't want to miss the keynote. I would recommend you actually go in and listen to the whole thing. I think it was about 45 minutes, but you will not know where time went. It was brilliant. Yeah,
it was really, really good. I enjoyed it. And she has a nice 30-day challenge at the end, which I really enjoy. So I really push the challenges here at Question Pro. So I'm glad that she did that. It wasn't planned either. She did that on her own. So, you know. All right. One more clip to show you guys. And then this one is my talk with Ray Pointer about the democratization of research, the bad, the good, the uncertainty. And in this clip, we're kind of teeing up what that means in organizations that, you know, where more and more people are doing research that maybe aren't necessarily researchers. You need some sort of repository or some sort of knowledge management platform like Insights Hub that we offer, where this organization could be organized, easily found, and not just somewhere where the data goes and lives, but somewhere where it comes to life after the fact as well. So actually, Mark, write that down. I kind of like that analogy. Okay.
I'm going to do that.
So I'll play this clip. This is where we're teeing it off. This is another great conversation around this. If you're on the supplier side, or even if you're you know, on the client side, really good tips. And from Ray Pointer, comes from a lot of research, annual research that SMR, Insights Association, and NewMR do around different trends in the marketplace. And this comes where I think they say 50% or more of the research is being done inside of organizations as opposed to outside. Not doom and gloom for market research companies at all. It's like a rising tide. So there's more and more volume out there. Even though maybe more of it's done in-house, there's still more than enough for everybody else outside of the organization. So that's where this clip is. I'll get this teed up, and then Mark and I will be back in a few minutes once this clip is played. Still goes back to like kind of old phrase, like, you know, garbage in, garbage out, right? You still need to have the correct information going in. Otherwise, what you're getting out is going to be useless as well. So I think that's a key point.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in terms of, I think, tools in helping to enable, if let's say someone outside of the insights department, you know, they want to run a study with an organization, I think, and they need the insights professionals to do it. Maybe it's outside of their expertise, or maybe it crosses those different boundaries that we talked about earlier in terms of research that I should conduct myself, or I need additional insights, additional knowledge that's outside of my capacity at the time. I think sort of like a workflow, right? Or getting those projects into a platform is going to be key, and some way to standardize that. Because I know that the insights professional, they want to do research, right? They don't want to spend all their time managing projects and giving status updates around these different things. So I think that'll be a key thing as well in terms of workflows, project intake, getting tools that will help them to manage their time, and then in turn have everybody within the organization on that same page as well.
Yeah, and the one tip I would add is to think about employing somebody whose job it is, because when the semantic web came on the scene, everyone said this is going to be the new big thing, and I was fairly sure it wasn't, because the people who had to code the information going into the web were not the people who were going to get the benefit. They were doing it for other people to get the benefit, and we're not great at doing that. So if we want the information to go in a good way, then that's a really good job for trainees, for interns, actually sometimes to outsource that, so it all gets done. It needs to be more than just good intentions. It needs to be more than asking the people who did a project. It was a real emergency. It was a great project. It solved the business need. And now just spend another day coding that up properly, putting some information together, annotating it so that when people pull the results down, they will know who was asked, why it was asked this way, and those sorts of things.
Makes sense. That makes sense. No, so I think that's a key component as well in making sure that just there's uniformity into different projects and the different workflows and so forth. Ray, I kind of have as you were talking, I have this kind of off the cuff kind of question for you. So let me know if you want to pass or not. But I think anytime there's change, there's going to be a group of people that are sort of resistant to it, right? They like the tried and true method. What advice or what guidelines would you give to those folks where they're used to maybe not having to do as much hands-on with the different projects or research, and they're used to outsourcing it and just looking at the data. What
Yeah.
advice or what would you say to those people?
It's going to change with or without you. So just to give you an example, you
Good
mentioned
point.
running. I do a lot of off-road running in the mountains, and I am up at the top end of skill of using a map and a compass. So give me an unmarked route, a map and a compass, and I can get across there really quickly. We now all use GPX watches. So I now can read the watch the same as every other person who's got the same quality watch as me. So that has gone. And you see some people trying to say, well, can't we make it a rule of the race that you can't have the GPX watch? No, the world's changed, and that has gone away as an advantage. And if you try to protect your sort of secret source knowledge of how to do research, you'll be bypassed. You will not be the person they go to. They will just go straight to the platform. They'll make their own mistakes if necessary, or they'll find other sources. You know, the internet's full of people who will help you. Some of them genuinely. So you don't really have a choice. You can't hang on to this secret knowledge.
Right. That makes sense. And then I think on the opposite side, okay, so that was a clip with Ray talking about the democratization of research, different tools, being resistant to change. I like his analogy of like things are going to change with or without you, so you better get on board. And his analogy of a map and a compass and using, GPS watches is interesting to me. So that clip or that session with Ray was super interesting as well. Recommend you check that out if you're in the space. And you definitely a lot of good nuggets. And he's been talking a lot about SMR and NewMR and Insights Association results. So definitely check that out. And he has a lot of knowledge as well. Okay, so I think that wraps up the clips that I wanted to show. Again, you can still register. And there's also more information on Insights Hub that Mark had put in the comments here. So definitely check that out.
Yeah.
And there's more great talks from Workforce. I know Sonia had this guy, Al Adamson, is that his name?
Adamson, correct, yeah.
Around, leadership and organizations and so forth. So lots and lots of great content that I would recommend you check out on XDay. And of course, you can always check out new products that we have upcoming and different announcements that we had as well. I know Viv gave a talk around what we're looking forward to. And also we acquired Bright AI, an AI kind of intelligence engine that we're going to be incorporating in to give better insights around unstructured data in our platform. So we're excited about that as well and what that will have to offer in the coming future to all of our clients. Okay, so Mark, let's wrap up with some data points that our main man Tim here came up with. So let me get these going here. Let's see. Okay, so I haven't seen these questions either, but let's go over these. So these were asked, to our panel about an hour ago. So we have 135 responses so far. So do you believe the metaverse is the new internet? So obviously, I think this kind of stems from Facebook changing their name to Meta and this new metaverse, this kind of 3D alternate reality universe internet thing, I guess. I don't know. So a lot of people are like, what is it? I think that's the main one. But no and yes. So people that do know of it, more people said no than yes, barely. So kind of split. I think jury is out there, right? So remains to be seen.
Yeah.
What will your Halloween costume be this year? So Halloween is on Sunday here. Mark, are you dressing up at all or no?
I'm going to go to a lunch and I'm going to see what I haven't thought of it. I'll maybe do something like Jim Halpert from Office where I'll just add like a tag.
Goes like Facebook or he did that. So
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I like it. I like that a lot actually. Okay, so what theme will it be? So most people, I guess, don't dress up for Halloween. Kind of interesting. But of those that do, it's going to be, scary kind of wins. So that makes sense. Funny. I like the funny one that you said. Sexy. We have some 11% people that are going to be dressing sexy, and then a movie or TV character. I guess yours is kind of funny and a TV character, Mark. So you kind of fit in that.
Yeah.
Both those groups there.
I'm on the fence.
Yeah. All right. You will win $1 million if you stay in one of these scary scenarios for a full night and survive. Which option would you choose? These are all from popular movies. Tim comes up with some of these questions. So interesting questions here. So we have a hospital with zombies, a small forest with someone hunting you, an abandoned haunted mansion with several ghost children, a spaceship where aliens are operating on humans, a broken down passenger train with no exits, and someone is hunting you. Man, I think for me, it would be a small forest with someone hunting you.
I was thinking the same thing too.
Yeah.
I'm going to use my GPX watch.
See, there you go. I would
get away.
As long as Ray Pointer's with me, I would split the winnings with him, I think, So
yeah.
I like that question. Is Mark Zuckerberg a robot? So we have 80% say no, but hey, 20% say yes. So, that's kind of interesting there. Do you think he's a robot, Mark, or is he's real?
What? I know he's real. So I don't know. I want to know these people that said no.
I know. It's kind of interesting.
But I've not met him, but.
So I think those are the data points we have time for today. So some interesting ones. I think I'm going to push some of these out. I like the scary movie one is interesting to me, and then also the metaverse one is interesting. So, all right, with that, I think we can call the show a wrap. Mark, thanks for joining me today, and be sure to tune in next week. We'll have a guest on and some more to come there. So, all right, thanks everyone. Have a good weekend.
I'll see you guys.